200 food bags strong.
Have you mixed your pain meds, your sleep meds, your allergy meds? Call the Poison Helpline. Has your child eaten a tube of toothpaste, a chip of paint, a wild mushroom? Call the Poison Helpline. Have you been bitten by a spider, a snake, an insect? Call the Poison Helpline. Poison. Home, on the or in the great outdoors. Call the Poison Helpline first for fast, free advice from medical professionals. Call 1-800-222-1222 anytime, anywhere. 1-800-222-1222. Save the number, save a life. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Turn around, smile.
Be safe, look after yourself, and look after one another.
Go to firstrcf.org and help us help them.
Stand by.
WW.
I'll just tee you guys up for questions. Just follow along, you'll be fine.
Truck Station.
Good afternoon, Greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. Sarah Timon decided to go to the Rolling Stones tonight, so that's why we've got some excellent guest hosts, killer members of our team on the show here. Zara, I always get your last name. Sala.
Yeah.
Zara Sala. You know, I think of the New York Jets coach. He's got the same last name, so it's not totally off. Zara Sala and Anthony Capadonna, we all work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we've got a lot to talk about on the show today. We had a very hot jobs report coming in last Friday, the upcoming Fed meeting and expectations there, as well as the VA circular. Michael Ketchmark made some comments and issued a warning to real estate agents. And we've got Jimmy Burgess giving some business advice, and we're going to unpack what Anthony and Zara have done so far this year to help other agents who want to grow their business. So if you like what you hear, you get some value out of this, make sure to hit subscribe on the channel, click on the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with our team to talk about your real estate needs, you can do that with the link in the comments. So Anthony and Zara, we had this jobs report come in last week, and it was way above expectation. The U.S. economy added 272,000 jobs in May. The expectation was 180,000 to 190,000 jobs that would have been added, so it blew that out of the water. And as a result, we saw the 10-year yield, which kind of dictates mortgage rates, went up 13 basis points. We saw rates jump up a little bit. Now, with this Fed meeting coming up this week, we're seeing that there's no shot of a Fed rate cut, which I wouldn't have expected one anyway. How have you been dealing with these rates and this market reaction with your clients right now? Like, what are you saying in the field? Because I know some people, and there's varying degrees of people paying attention to the market and not. What are you guys seeing? What are your clients telling you, and how are you dealing with that?
I think, like, at this point, you know, the rates have been in the mid sixes for a while now, so I feel like a lot of my clients have been more accustomed to it. And I guess that's why, like, when I first started, the interest rates were at 3%.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a completely different market. But I feel like nowadays, because the interest rates have stabilized, my clients are a lot more selective with the houses. Like, they want to see more houses because they finally realize, like, okay, like, I am going to have a higher monthly payment. Therefore, like, there are certain things that I, want in a home. So I feel like clients have become a lot more selective because of the interest rates,
Sure.
being higher. Yeah.
Yeah, just like, I mean, it's been like this for a while. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been dealing with this since last year, up and down, staying kind of in the sixes, low sevens. It's luckily, I mean, I think people are just, the clients that I've been dealing with, they were just ready to buy, and they know, hey, I'll refinance when the rates go down.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've been talking with ever since we've been talking about the predictions for the future rates.
Mm-hmm.
I see the signs, and like I've been telling everybody, hey, now's the best time because next year rates are probably going to still stay the same. It's still going to stay the same, and prices are going to possibly keep driving up.
Well, I think that's a really great point, because when you see this jobs report come in so high above expectation, the economy's in a very interesting spot right now, because this would tell you the economy's really strong. But then when you go deeper into this data, and this is, I think, the thing people need to look at, unemployment ticked up to 4%, so the highest it's been since January 2022. And part-time employment went up. So this jobs report, it's not all full-time jobs. There's a lot of people holding out for different jobs. And the CME group, they do a really nice job of talking about what's going to happen at the Fed meeting. There's a 99.4% chance we don't see a rate cut. I don't think rate cuts are happening anytime soon until maybe the end of the third, beginning of the fourth quarter. So what you said there, Anthony, I mean, that's what's going to be so critical, is letting people know, like, hey, these are the rates we're dealing with. And some people don't want to believe it. Others are, a little more open to it. But that's going to be the biggest message here. And I'm clear. I mean, you saw what Fannie Mae did. They revised their rate predictions. Right. So are most people kind of hearing you on this, or you still have those other folks that are just kind of waiting? I mean, for rates to come down. What are you guys seeing in the field? I mean, you're out there helping a lot of folks.
I mean, I think they're just like whatever, what I'm saying and throwing these predictions out. Fannie Mae. And then our bright economist, I forget her name. But,
Lisa Stuyvesant.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, after what after seeing these reports, also you at the office and our training videos and going through everything, and just keeping up to date on our market memorandum. I mean, they're looking it up themselves, and they're seeing the same thing. And I think they're starting to see the data that's out there on the internet, really.
Well, I think also, like, at the end of the day, it's all about monthly payment,
Mm-hmm.
So just working with their monthly payments. I always ask them, like, what is your monthly payment that you're looking for? And a lot of the times it's really close to what they're paying already for rent, because a lot of my clients are already in a rental situation. So, and their rent continues to go up. So I feel like in that sense, there's always that motivation as well, So I only work with like motivated buyers, obviously, but yeah, it honestly I take it back to the monthly payment that they're looking for.
Well, and so are you getting pushback on monthly payment? Because there was an article that came out, according to Fannie Mae, 86% of consumers are saying it's a bad time to buy a house. And that's up from 79% the previous month. And what we also are seeing when it comes to affordability, that home ownership costs are up 26% since the pandemic. So obviously, I think it's smart that you're working with people that are motivated, but the affordability is not getting any better. And I think that's, the average total cost is, up substantially over the past 4 years. So you're saying people are pickier. Do you think that's because of the affordability, or what are you seeing in the marketplace right now?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I don't think, more so my questions that I get aren't really about the interest rate. It's more so about, like, oh, do you think the house prices are going to come down anytime soon? And, obviously I don't have a crystal ball, but like I can say, they have been continuously increasing year after year. So, I mean, when was the last time the house prices were down during the recession? So
That's a great point. Well, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that if they want rates to come down, like something bad would have to happen.
Like a pandemic.
Exactly.
a pandemic or a financial meltdown. Yeah, I mean that's I think the reality here that a lot of people don't want to get clear on. So you get these people. Let's talk about a seller for a second, because I think this is the harder conversation. When you're getting someone they're seeing the Fed's going to hold rates again, we don't know what's going on with the economy. How are you advising them? Because we're also seeing inventory grow, and if the only goal is to cash out as a seller, what I get nervous about is they might wait too long and the market could go the other way. So when people give you that hesitation, what do you say to them? Like, you guys are in the field, you're working with buyers and sellers every day. What advice do you have when you get the piece of pushback of, hey Czar, I want to wait, or hey Anthony, I want to wait?
Yeah, like I have a 3% interest rate right now. Why would I want to buy? It goes back to, again, the predictions that we're seeing on Fannie Mae and what we've been dealing with and what we've been seeing through our trainings and all the reports, and just staying up to date with everything is, rates, it's going to stay like this for a while. I mean, at least into 2026. So, you maybe wait for the rates to come down a little bit into that comfortability level that you're comfortable with buying.
Sure.
But I don't see it happening in the next couple of years. So if you're looking to make a move in the next, year or so or anything like that, might as well just start, prepping your house and decluttering for to get it listed on the market. That's what I think.
Yeah, I
Because
also
it takes time for that. I mean, that takes a lot
Yeah.
of time. Just decluttering, moving stuff, get rid of furniture and all.
I think like I said before, I sound like a broken record, but like motivation, honestly, because I mean, if they can, stay in their home for years and they're not as motivated, obviously they're going to want to keep their 3% interest rate.
Of
But
course.
I have clients that are very motivated that they, outgrew the home. They need another house. So for them, it's like, okay, like it sucks to get rid of my 3% rate, but I need a bigger house.
What do you do to determine motivation for our agent friends listening? Because I think I see this as one of the biggest roadblocks, and we've all talked about this. When you think someone's motivated, but you're not really sure,
Yeah.
or you're not asking the right questions. How do you determine motivation? Because if you don't know that, you might be spending a lot of time working with people that are never going to transact.
Yeah, I would just say, like, I always ask them, like, is there a specific place that you would like to move to? Like, where would you go to next? Could you tell me a little bit more about why you're making the move? Questions like that,
Yeah, I mean, it's like right off the bat. It's like, nah,
Just be forward and
I'm
honest
renting.
with them.
I'm
Okay.
renting.
Yeah.
Right away. You hear, I've been, I'm renting a place. It's nice and all, but I'm tired of paying rent. A lot of people paying rent. They got some money saved up from a wedding or anything like that. Job relocation. Like it's like those key things you're just trying to listen for, and like, okay, this person's getting evicted on the 13th of this month, so
Yeah.
and they're already
Like, I need a
pre-approved,
Yeah.
house.
so
That's a
they're
good
way
point.
more motivated. They want to buy a house,
For
they
sure.
wanna buy a
Or
house.
if you just start asking them about their criteria, then they'll just tell you. Sometimes you don't even need to ask them. They'll just be like, this is my situation.
Well, if you're asking great questions, they're going to tell you more than you realize. And so something you hit on there. I mean, I did this objection handling role play with Ben Black, who from the agency out in LA. He's actually been sitting right there, Anthony. So you're in a famous seat.
Oh,
wow.
But he's from around here. He was
Can we
here for
switch seats?
Sure. And Byron Lazine. And what we did was, it was funny. Everyone thinks there's like these magical things you say to get people to move. It's really just asking better questions.
Exactly.
And then listening. Like the fact that you said you're listening, right? Most people talk way too much, especially salespeople. They just want to keep talking and feel like they're going to talk somebody into something. Never works that way. Have you guys ever talked someone into buying a house?
No, I talk them out of it.
Yeah,
So,
That's
yeah.
good advice.
No, absolutely not. It's not about like there's no secret to it. It's just like, they came to you for a reason, or they're asking questions for a reason, and you're just listening and figuring out like, all right, well, it may take these people a little longer time because they're not in a huge rush, but they're keeping their eyes and ears open. And other people, it's just going with the flow. There's no secret.
Well, so you're asking better questions. You're getting in these situations. You're educating. I'm hearing a lot of that. So the next question I got for you guys here is we've got this Fed meeting coming up. It's pretty clear to me they're not going to raise rates. So how are you educating people when they ask you like, hey, what about the Fed meetings are? What does the Fed news mean, Anthony? And I'm clear you want to watch the comments probably more than anything else. It's usually what they say afterwards is what sets the market off. And we'll probably see the market react a little bit. What were rates coming in today? Like 6.75?
7.5,
Yeah. So that's in a great scenario.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a local
yeah.
quote.
Yeah.
So rates are
7.
still pretty steady. And I would anticipate the market's expecting the Fed to hold rates. So you get someone that asks you this question, how are you advising them? Because we know that affordability is a hot touch point. 86% of consumers think it's a bad time to buy a home right now, even though we're seeing lots of transactions happen. So how are you guiding people once Jerome Powell says whatever he's going to say later this week?
You can go.
Just basically, it's just the same thing. Rates are staying steady. They've been kind of like steady pretty much all year. They haven't like jumped up like crazy. If anything, a couple tenths of a point. But rates are staying steady. New predictions just came out. Rates are going to pretty much stay steady and not even go into the fives in 2025. And we may possibly end of 2026, we may see a high 5. And we don't even know if that's going to happen. So basically, it's just you buy now. What this time next year, you're possibly looking, especially it's a lot of the areas that we handle are very highly desired areas. You're talking like 8 to 10%, year after year. So
Yeah. And I think we've talked about this before, but like when interest rates do drop, I mean, you're just adding more competition,
That's a great point.
which is going to up the house prices even more. So talk about affordability. So yeah, I actually like. I think the interest rates being in the mid sixes is like an okay. I feel like for those buyers.
Historically, this is where they've been. That's what a
Yeah.
lot of people don't get. Like, I mean, you've probably got a better perspective than most because you've bought homes before, right? You were in that market, and
Yeah.
Zara, you said it. It's motivation. So, you know, what I look at here, if I'm a buyer or a seller right now, if I'm a seller, I'm very conscious of this inventory growing because there's some areas where it's still competitive, but we've all, and I know you two specifically, you're getting offers accepted below the asking price right now. Unheard of a couple years ago. And the trend is still like 100.4% in the suburbs. It's a little less in Philadelphia. So if I'm a seller, I'm watching this inventory growth very closely. And you know, I think that the move up house is still pretty competitive, but the first time buyer properties and some of the lower price stuff, there's more options out there. Fair to say?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Inventory has definitely increased like within the past couple of months.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, which is great.
For sure. There's my follow-up boss number going off. I got to mute my computer here. So, and so if I'm a buyer right now, what advice do you have for buyers? They meet you. You're just talking to them today. Hey, we're thinking about doing something the next 6 to 12 months. We've got some flexibility. What do we do?
Let's get started with the pre-approval. See where your comfortability level is. See how much your debt to income ratio comes out. Again, it's free. It's good advice, good information. You have that in your back pocket. You kind of know where you are monthly payment wise with like a certain tax area, and kind of feel it out. Just continue to send some listings to them and keep an eye watching the prices, and then just following up.
Yeah, I would just try to have a full-on consultation with them from start to finish. So whenever they are ready, like they know every step of the way. And just helping them, guide them, sending them properties, and just following up with them in the meantime whenever they are ready. Because I've had that so many times where buyers are like, "Oh, we're like 6 to 12 months out, and then we're submitting offers like the next month," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
Yeah.
So you never like people's situations change all of the time. So I would never heavily rely on what someone is saying because it could change at any moment.
Great advice. So, what I'm hearing is get educated, and then don't sleep on the market because prices aren't going to be coming down. If you're looking to time the market as a buyer, and you're hoping prices are going to come down like other parts of the country, that's not happening here. I think that's very clear. So, what I think it's more the same. I actually like that we're not going to see anything disruptive coming out of this Fed meeting. I think it's stable. Well, think about last year how volatile everything
I know,
was.
it was
Like every
8%.
day, well, it was 8, but then it was like rates
Yeah.
are going up and down a half a point sometimes in a week. So a steady market will, certainly help the people that are attacking their business in the right ways. So get some advice, talk to a professional if you're thinking about transacting. That's some really good advice from both Anthony and Zara here. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some NAR settlement news as well as some business advice from Jimmy Burgess and what Anthony and Zara are doing to help people next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Local mortgage service and great
Alright,
rates.
so we got like 30
no
minutes.
Further than Mortgage
So-
America.
Really?
We've been
Yeah.
operating in the greater
So,
Philadelphia
I'm gonna
area
do- I'm
for
gonna
40
go over
years
this,
with a focus on
the
smooth,
VA news,
easy
the
access
VA,
to
and then the Michael
mortgages.
Ketchmark
Whether
stuff, and
you're a
then
first-time
and then the
buyer,
business advice will be at the end.
upsizing,
We'll just combine the two because it's kind of
downsizing, or
similar.
just refinancing,
This all
we
came
have
out like after I
programs
prepped
for
this
you.
thing.
We also have closing cost
What's the
assistance
problem with doing these
programs
shows?
and access to subsidized
Yeah.
interest rates. Pre-approval is
Luckily, I'm
free,
a
no
nerd.
costs or
That's all I do.
commitments. To learn more, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us
Yeah,
a call
you're
at
DJ.
610-439-8000.
Look at some video. You don't have
We
social
always
media,
have a
but
person available to
for
take your call
Nick will
with
clip some video out and
around-the-clock
we can
human
make
service.
like put
Purchase
in
your
some video
home
for
with
you.
the personalized
Stuff you can post on
local
social.
service you find at Mortgage
Doing
America.
Keith Sorry to get a social media.
I'm Tom
Look at
Toole
some
of the
for
Tom
me.
Toole Sales Group at Remax Main
We
Line.
got a
If
manager.
you're
There's
thinking
not
of
gonna.
becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have
We
a
got
special
some
offer for
Post
you.
it on my Snapchat.
Our team did $165 million of volume in
I never
2021,
had Snapchat.
making us the number one Remax team in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania and
I'll
a
tell
top
you what I think
1%
Snapchat's
team
for.
nationally.
Show.
Our
Big
agents love
years
us
on
because
there.
we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture. Agents who've been with us for at least a
Yeah,
year
Snapchat's just
average
like
30
iMessage
plus
for
sales.
photos.
Even
Like
our
instead of
brand
sending
new
text
agents
messages,
average
you just send
17 to
photos.
24 sales a year. We offer proven systems and expert training. We help you set more appointments and sell more houses.
Teenagers sending
Now, here's the
pictures
offer.
to each other in
If
the-
you don't have a
right
real
road.
estate license yet, we offer
I think you
real
were gonna say
estate
after the
scholarships so you
meeting.
can get one for free.
I rephrased
Check
so
it
it's not
out at
something that happens.
realestatescholarshiprogram.com
I don't send it
or
appropriate
one
photos,
minute,
but
Toole
okay.
Sales
You
Group
also
at
have
Remax
teenagers
Main
saying-
Line at tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Get
All right.
more out of your real estate career, and remember the real
Most of the
estate
stuff out, you
golden
guys
rule. Call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice
30 seconds.
just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually
This room
meet.
is like
As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time
10 seconds.
and low down payment.
It's cold out. It's
For your
chilly
free
out there.
pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply
Wait,
online
you
at
said
My
30
Mortgage
minutes or
America.
30 seconds?
Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. He's Anthony Capodanno. She's Zara Sala. And we all work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we're going to be covering some great news for anyone that's involved as a veteran, VA financing, really, really good stuff here. Michael Ketchmark, the attorney who for the plaintiffs in the NAR settlement, is going to be, he issued a warning to everybody today. Tough guy over there. And at the end, we're going to be talking about Jimmy Burgess and what Anthony and Zara are doing to make sure that you're able to help people at a high level. So we're going to go over some business advice at the end. So if you like what you hear, you get some value out of this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with one of these two killer agents, you can do that with the link in the comments. So VA news here. Have you guys ever done a VA loan? Either one
I
of you?
have, yeah.
Yes.
So this is awesome news. There was some foreshadowing at the Mortgage Bankers Association last week, and what's interesting is this NAR settlement, right? It's come out. There's so much to unpack from it. There's like constant news every day. I feel like we only talk about this on the show for our business segment because it's that big of a deal. So when it goes into effect in August 17th, the Department of Veteran Affairs announced a temporary policy allowing home buyers who are veterans and active duty service members to compensate their buyer agent directly. This was previously forbidden. It was not allowed. You couldn't do it. And it's going to allow them to be competitive, in my view, if there's a seller that's not offering compensation. So you've been working with VA buyers. What do you think about this change?
Well, I guess I have a question for you. What do they mean by temporary?
That's a good point. I don't know
Like,
what
what
it
does that
means.
mean?
I mean, there's a temporary local variance. Here's my guess. I don't think they know what's going to happen, just like everybody else, right? I mean, this
Welcome
is
to the club.
well, and I would argue that we've been overly prepared for this. I mean,
Yes.
you guys are at every single training when we cover this stuff. We've been talking about this for over a year, but no one really knows how this is going to play out. So I think that's why it's temporary until they see a need to make it permanent. That's my guess. I don't really know.
Yeah, I guess my thoughts on it. Well, first of all, I feel like with the whole NIR settlement, I feel like sellers most likely are still going to continue to pay.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say with VA, I'm glad that they gave them the option to pay because I definitely think that'll help. Because how else are we supposed to get a commission? I guess we could do like a seller credit. So I would say it's good news overall. I just think the whole temporary thing's a little confusing, but.
My guess is that they just don't know how it's
Yeah.
going to play out. Because what if, there's these concession fields, right? So I mean, I think they're trying to figure it out. Maybe they're changing other things. We don't know. Maybe they're going to be able to finance it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're hoping for. But again, it's just like you said, I want to see like once the kinks are all out, and then like the rule comes out, and this is the way it's going to be. This is what we're going to allow. I mean, right now I'm just training, getting ready for what could happen, and what can that's all. What I know now is what I can only all of us can get ready.
Yeah,
for,
and I don't want to have to limit my buyer pool just because a buyer can't pay me. You know what I mean? Like I don't care to I work with anyone, so I think that's kind of limiting for them to not allow VAs to pay.
I think it's BS if they can. I mean,
Yeah.
and
Especially if they can afford to.
well, they serve the country, right?
Yeah.
So I would never hack it in the military. Anthony, you were in law enforcement previously. Like I would die doing all these things. Like I'm just not cut out for that stuff. And I have a lot of people in law enforcement that are former vets. So I would imagine you know a lot. And we've got a number of veterans on our team. I just think this whole thing is ridiculous that now they're at a disadvantage because of this suit. So they had to do something. It's unfortunate that Michael Ketchmark and these other people didn't think about this stuff, and I think that's the challenge here. So I hope it's either permanent or there's the ability to finance it. That's going to be one of the best solutions that would come out of this, is the ability to roll that into a mortgage for a buyer.
Absolutely. I mean, these guys, you know, they serve their country. I mean, this is why they get this special loan.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame, so, you know, 'cause some push it to the side, even though they're like the most qualified ones, just about because they're, you know, getting back by the VA certificate. But you know, again, like I hope it's easy, you know, easy enough for these guys to do whatever, you know, every kind of privilege we could give them, you know, like and step up really. So just to get the deal done.
Yeah, and this had to go through Congress. I mean, that's always a slow process. So NAR came out and said that you know, they launched an all-hands advocacy effort on this issue, working with Congress and the relevant VA committees, meeting with the VA, collaborating with industry partners, and holding hundreds of meetings. Hundreds of meetings sounds like a lot, on Capitol Hill during the Realtors legislative meetings in May, and they look forward to continuing the conversation. Obviously, I think this is a big win across the board for everybody. So I'm glad to see one government agency actually doing the right thing, because this doesn't happen often with the government, so that's good. The other part of this lawsuit, which I found very interesting, is you know, Michael Ketchmark, our good friend here, plaintiff's lawyer in the NAR settlement lawsuit, he issued a warning, right? And so I want to kind of get your reaction to this. He was the lead attorney in the Sitzer Burnett case, and here's what he said. Steering is a very serious legal issue in the antitrust world, and anyone who thinks they can send out a few emails or bury their head in the sand and avoid the application of the law is wrong. As these new rules take effect, we will take legal action to enforce the settlement agreement. Pretty aggressive terms here. So I've got my opinion on this, and this was the comment on, this is his comment on NAR's guidance. So just to give some perspective here, NAR's got guidance on steering, and what NAR had said is that it came up in at their latest conference, and that they said the proposed settlement of multiple antitrust lawsuits eliminates steering and makes amount of compensation a listing broker or a seller offers to a buyer broker irrelevant. On last Friday, Chief Legal Officer for NAR, Katie Johnson, emailed all the NAR members about steering, and it was, you know, very clear. And, you know, obviously the settlement hasn't been finalized yet. So, what do you take away from this comment by Michael Ketchmark here?
So he's saying this lawsuit will eliminate steering because...
No, he said that it's a very serious legal issue, and anyone who thinks they can send out a few emails or bury their head in the sand and avoid the application of the law is wrong. As these new rules take effect, we will take legal action to enforce the settlement agreement. I mean, so, you know, when you talk about steering, it's basically saying, hey, don't look at this property without offering a commission.
That's what I was thinking of. So, like, is he talking about, like, agents that just, you know, send some emails out and bury their head in the sand? Is that what he's saying? Bury their head in the sand?
I have a feeling he's talking about NAR in their email.
I mean, the commission has always been negotiable. Like, we know this. So if I see a home that is offering, I don't know, like 2% or something, I mean, you could always just ask your buyers to pay that extra percent or whatnot, you know, right now. So I don't think it really matters now versus later with the lawsuit. Like, I feel like commission's always negotiable, so you can always negotiate up if you wanted to.
Very true. I think what I'm seeing here from this comment is that, you know, now, because the buyer actually has to pay this, right? Before you showed a home, it was in the MLS, you accept the compensation. That's how it worked.
Right.
Now that the buyer has to pay this, what if the buyer says, I don't want to look at that property? This is very realistic, and to me, it's another unintended consequence of this lawsuit. So he's talking about steering, but I thought everything was about transparency, and it's, you know, it's a very interesting comment, and it's a stern warning for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you know, and since a broker working with a buyer cannot receive more compensation than the buyer agreed to in the agreement, the amount of any offer of compensation is irrelevant according to NAR. So they're only so if you're offered at X% or X plus 1%, right? Let's say those are the two numbers, whatever that is, or X plus Y. You know, I don't want to get into specifics here. you've got a signed buyer agency agreement. You're entitled to what's in the agreement, not anything more. We've gone over this,
Right.
so I would imagine that the steering is actually that could happen here might be steering from the buyers not wanting to pay.
That makes sense. I didn't think of it like that, but that's true.
Right. Well, what if in some case, like, the buyer doesn't, like, they're like, yeah, they're not off, they don't want to see it. They don't want to see it because they're not offering.
Yeah, they're like, I don't want to pay you.
Yeah, like, I don't want to pay. He's like, I want to, like, if I pay you, then.
It's not worth that much for me.
Well, and it may not be financially viable for them. I mean, most buyers go to the maximum amount they can afford.
Right.
I mean, we see what these people like. I mean, and I I don't know about when you bought your house. I remember I spoke to my wife, and I'm like, all right, let's buy something where we don't have to move again. Like I don't want to do this again. Like I'm done. Like this is miserable. Moving stinks, right? And so that was my approach. And I'd imagine you probably were in the same. Like everyone always wants to get like the best they can get.
Are like
you want to get the most,
yeah.
And then you want to like land at that level. Like you hope to retire at that house and not move.
I mean, if you're spending that much money, you don't want to move every couple of years.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. It's overwhelming. It's tough. It's stressful. It's all that stuff. But I mean, and again, buyers are paying close. I mean, we could talk about this all day. Buyers are paying closing costs. All these expenses, and then now they gotta pay a 3% commission.
Yeah, on top of it.
It's tough. It's tough.
So this whole thing is very interesting to me because it seems like the steering would happen on the buyer's part. So like, who's to say like there's sometimes like we've all bought things, right? Hey, there's extra fees associated with that. I'm out, right? Think about cable, right? People, I mean, do you stream or do you watch cable? And what do you guys?
I still have cable.
I still have cable too, but I think we're getting rid of it because there's all these extra fees for things I don't need or want that we're paying for, and versus my kids stream stuff. I watch like 4 channels, right? I watch like sports, the news, and then like CNBC, and that's about it. I'm a very, very boring person. And the point is, like,
Real Housewives.
No, that my wife watches that constantly, so that would be one of the things we will be getting. But the point is, I think there's a real issue here that people aren't talking about, and this warning. I don't know if Michael Ketchmark's trying to be intimidating here or what his issue is, but now all of a sudden the agents are getting blamed for a buyer not wanting to pay a fee because of the terms of the settlement that he negotiated.
I think he's just trying to justify the lawsuit, but I can't really see under his reasoning. I don't think it makes sense.
August is going to be a very interesting month.
It definitely is.
And
sure.
September is going to be more interesting.
A lot of changes, a lot of like, we got to fix that, we got to do this.
Yeah.
So.
Like, I don't think much is changing. I just think there's going to be a lot of interesting workarounds to everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's we'll see what happens. I mean, I think that the most important thing is like this is going to play out how it plays out, and who's really going to tell you what they think? It's going to be consumers. That's going to be the people that make the actual judgment here on all this because they're the ones that are most affected. All right, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about a killer article from Jimmy Burgess. He's the CEO of Florida Beach Home Properties down in Berkshire Hathaway down by 30A. Apparently, this is like the greatest beach of all time. Great article. He's a regular on Inman. And I want to talk about you two because to give some perspective, the average agent last year, the average size that an agent did last year? Less than 5.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Right? So you've already doubled, quadrupled that this year, and we're in the middle of the year. So we want to talk about it's working for you guys as well for all our agent friends listening. We'll be right back on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Your mortgage from a big or online bank. At Mortgage America, we have access to big bank money, but with the personalized and detailed service of a local bank. We are here in your community and ready to serve with fast settlements, low down payment options, and first-month
NAR again, like or like, hey, we're giving them
no cost or commitments. For
I think
more
it's like you
information,
said, like,
visit our website
I mean,
at
buyers are just gonna be doing
mymortgageamerica.com
their
or
own
give us a
steering.
call at
Affects
610-439-8000.
them, I mean.
Yeah.
I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at Remax Main Line. If you're
Do you know how
thinking
much
of
I would
becoming a
love to
real
steer
estate
my
agent
clients
in the
with
greater
Ryan
Philly area, I have a special offer for
So
you.
much.
Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021, making us the #1 Remax team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally. Our agents love us because we offer them a successful
What's so
career,
popular
a
there,
great
too?
life, and an unbeatable culture.
Yeah.
Agents who've been with us for at least a year average 30+ sales.
It's like down
Even
there,
our
there's not a lot
brand new
available. You
agents
go to like
average 17
Sarasota
to
and those
24
areas,
sales a
tons of
year.
inventory.
We offer proven
Yeah.
systems and expert
It's all a
training.
different market.
All
We
of
help
his
you
resort
set more
spots,
appointments
too?
and sell more houses.
I don't know enough
Now
about
here's
it.
the offer.
They pay
If
8%.
you don't have a real estate license yet, we
Anthony,
offer
let's
real
move
estate
Florida.
scholarships so you can
Yeah,
get
but
one
you
for
got
free.
buyers looking at
Check
free
it out
homes,
at
40 homes, so
That's
it's
Yeah.
realestateagents.com or visit the Tom Toole Sales Group at Remax Main Line at
Is it weird
tomtoole.com.
to hear your
That's
voice?
tomtoole.com. Get more out of your real estate career, and remember the real estate golden rule: you always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
Have you considered a
Because
career
we're
in
good,
real
this is
estate? Do you want control
I asked you guys to come over,
over
you always
your
hang out all the
income?
time, so
Whether
we're
you
gonna
have
Yeah,
a
that's
license
good.
or
Yeah,
not,
that was
call
We're
us
the
today at
iconic duo.
610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at Remax. 30 seconds. When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a
I'm
great
gonna
rate.
tell how to
At
get in
Mortgage
touch with you
America,
guys.
we've
So
been
you
letting
might
you
give out the
philosophy
Instagram,
for
but you don't have
35
anything, so
years.
give me your
We have
email.
access to
Just
great
go to my
loan rates
website and
without the
email.
complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs.
Or what? What do you do that screen?
For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
At the Tom Toole.
The Tom. It's not the.
All right. Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Zara Stalla. He's Anthony Campadano. We all work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at Remax Mainline, the #1 Remax team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we're going to be talking about 30 years of brutally honest business advice from Jimmy Burgess down in Florida, iconic real estate agent and leader within the industry, as well as what Anthony and Zara are doing to dramatically outperform the average agent in the marketplace. No surprise, because these two are working hard. So if you like what you hear, you get some value out of this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and just click on that bell for notifications. It's really easy to do. And if you want to schedule a call with one of these two to talk about your real estate needs and goals, you can do that with a link in the comments. So to give everyone some perspective here, we're going to talk about Jimmy's article in a second. I have some numbers. So the average agent in 2023, I was going to have you guys guess this, but I told you at the break, sold 4.38 homes. So I'm going to go with not even 4, or not even 5. They sold 4 homes. And Anthony and Zara, between the two of them, Zara's got 9 sales year to date, so pacing, well over 20. Anthony's got 19 sales, so obviously.
Thanks, Anthony.
I didn't even know
Way
that.
to make me look bad.
I see. You don't look bad at all. When the average, the 1.5 million real estate agent average, Zara, is less than half of what you've done. So give yourself some credit here. It's not a. I mean, everyone's got a different sales pace and what they're doing. So. What's worked for you guys? I mean, this has been consistent. This isn't like a one-off. You're having like a great 6 months. What are some of the 1 or 2 key things? And then I'm gonna tell you what Jimmy Burgess is saying, and we can see if you agree or disagree with it.
Well, I think the great thing about our team is what works is we're full-time realtors. Where I'm sure a lot of these people are part-time, which definitely, I have some friends that are part-time and they pretty much do this amount. So. I think the fact that we're able to be available whenever is necessary is huge for us, and able to take on clients from Berks County, Bucks County, Delaware, wherever. But yeah, I just honestly always filling up my pipeline is really important for me, just because I have to think about not my next deal, but where the next 5 are coming from, because you just never know. So, and I mean, for Anthony, it's probably the next 20. But so yeah, I just. Always having that pipeline in hand, because people are constantly I'll have a client that I've been working with, they're like, we're just going to rent for another year, or this happened, that happened. So constantly meeting new people every single week has been something that I've been trying to do.
The number of appointments you go on directly correlates to how many homes you're selling. And you said the average agent might be part-time. The average realtor worked 30 hours last year a week.
Yeah.
So that is part-time if you ask me. I work a lot more than 30 hours. This isn't. I'm not talking 40. We're talking a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So
we don't track it, but I'm sure we all work.
I do track it. I'm probably in the
do.
50 to 60 range. Well, I just put everything in my calendar. That's really what it is. But I think that's a great point, Zara, because when you treat it like a business, it performs like a business. Great advice, Anthony. What about you? What are some of the could be the same, could be something different. What do you see as some of the keys to putting up consistent sales? Because that's where I think most agents struggle too, is that consistency.
It's just, just responding to anything that they send, you know, or questions, and constantly following up, shooting them text, you know. Yeah, I'm still kind of shocked about my numbers right now. But yeah, I'm just, it's just, I guess, I mean, I guess I knew it was going to happen, but you just never know when it happens. And the next thing is things just start flowing, and you're available, and you're showing, you're giving information, and you're being transparent. And then, you know, when people listen to you, next thing you know, they're in a home. It's sometimes it happens so fast. And,
Yeah.
And I work extremely fast, and you know, when something pops up, a task or anything like that, I tackle it right away because I don't want to linger. I'm type A, so it's like I gotta get things done.
Yeah, I'm type AB. Like sometimes I'm A, sometimes I'm B, so I'm in the middle.
Yeah.
Well, so what I'm hearing is follow up, right? That's where all the money's at, right? 6+ attempts are
Absolutely.
where you convert people, and what I'm also hearing is being available, because like you talked about the part-time thing. If you're part-time, that means you're doing something else, right?
Yeah.
So imagine a client calls you and like, hey, I'm at my other job right now. That would be the end of the relationship for me.
Yeah.
But I think that's a very real thing that a lot of people deal with. And you know, just playing offense, right? Like you're getting stuff done. You're not waiting for things to happen.
Right.
I mean, I know you're working on something this morning, and you're getting ahead of it so you can keep your day going. That's really good advice. Very cool stuff. And you know, you keep telling me you're surprised by your numbers. This is a compound effect, right? You guys know what the compound effect is?
No, explain it.
So it's the results of sustained action over time,
Yeah.
right? And like you're doing all this work,
Right.
and then all of a sudden like something pops, and you look like this happened overnight, but it's like months and months of hard work. And I think that's probably what's going on more than anything else. And it happens to be this time of year, and you can say the same thing for a whole team right now. I mean, we're coming off our best month that we've
Absolutely.
had ever, but it's not like it wasn't like one thing that we did in April. It was like 18 months of work.
Leading up to it.
Leading up, and you know, we're also in a shifting market. You got to change. I mean, you've had to change a lot from when you came into the business to now.
Right.
And a lot of agents that got in the business when you did, they're no longer real estate agents.
I believe that.
Yeah, I feel like
it was hard.
when you started, like pretty much.
It was so like I would show 2 to 4 houses, and it was kind of to the point where I would meet someone. I'd be like, "Oh, nice to meet you. You want to write up an offer? All right, cool."
Boom, yeah,
And then
that's what
everything
I'm
was
saying.
waived. Everything was easy. It made me lazy, honestly. So like if I started the industry now, or like where I'm at now, like if I started, I probably would have quit my first month because I was 22 when I started. I didn't know anything, and
Right.
I was really new. But now I feel like with the amount of experience, like I can handle the tough
Yeah, with
deals.
all the knowledge you
You know,
have.
we were talking about like how bad our inspections have been recently. Like that stuff, if I dealt with it in the beginning, I would have
Yeah. Now
definitely
you
been
have
like, I don't know what I'm doing.
you have all this stuff, you know, and then also you ask me questions because I know a lot about homes,
Yeah.
and then like you know, attending some inspections that you had, learning more about houses, like you said, like
Because I'm not a
now you-
contractor, I'm not an inspector.
Now you have
I'm
all
a
this
realtor.
knowledge.
But
Mhm.
I mean, getting as much knowledge as possible always helps, and it makes you look knowledgeable to your clients as well. They're like,
Right.
oh wow, she knows a lot about a house.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's Jimmy's advice. I think this is going to sound very similar.
Yeah.
So the first one is, and just imagine someone talking with like a really great Southern accent, because this is what Jimmy has. He's a friend of mine. So you're acting like an indoor cat, right? I
That
would
was
never.
me, yeah.
So, but no, they're confined to a controlled environment, and they wait for someone to feed them, and they're temperamental and lazy and don't play well with others, right? So that's not you, because you're very outgoing. I totally disagree with that. Outdoor cats have the freedom to roam and live adventurous lives. And with all that freedom, they understand if they're going to eat, it's going to be the result of their efforts. So that sounds exactly like what you two were talking about here. I would have said something different. I like the indoor cat analogy. That's pretty good. I don't
Yeah.
even like cats, but this is good.
I don't
I
like
love
cats either,
cats.
but
Okay.
okay, Anthony.
1 out of 3. That's good. Here's the second one. Tell me if you agree with this. Shut mouths don't get fed. So that means, you know, our business is related to having real estate related conversations, and the person that has the most conversations wins. So if you're stalled out or you're not getting the results that you want, have more conversations and your results will change. What do you think about this piece of advice?
No, I completely agree. Like when I first started, I realized, I don't know my numbers exactly now, but when I first started, I realized I need around 50 conversations to generate an offer. Like that was my number.
Mm-hmm.
So that kept me motivated. I'm like, okay, I'm only at like 35 for this week. Like I have to up it or else, you know, like it always helps having kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm like, all right, well, like I'll possibly submit an offer and get a deal.
That is, I mean, and most people don't even track like that, Zara, like that. And you've been saying this for years, and it's so impressive that you can get that, and you're like, all right, here's my one number I got to hit, and
Yeah.
that's gonna change my business. What do you think about this, Anthony? Shut mouths don't get fed.
No, absolutely. You got to call. I mean, call for like I'm big on calling on the phone and trying to get as much. You know, like if I haven't somebody that's just today when I was doing home searches and setting people up, we're switching over. I was like, man, I really got to call this guy, and I set a task. You know, I got to call him because I'm like, you know, yeah, last year when I was talking to him and you know called him millions of times, and he didn't, and then finally I got him one time, and then he's not ready. You know, he jumped the gun, whatever. Okay, got him on the drip, you know, but I noticed I got to call, you know, it's just calling on the phone. Call first and then react later.
And even, you know, they probably aren't ready sometimes when I call them, but whenever they are, I know they'll use me because I built that rapport with them on the phone.
Well, and you also got to realize that the average agent follows up 2.7 times. So maybe at the beginning they're getting inundated, but if someone's not ready, I had a conversation like this yesterday. I started talking to this person in October, so it's 8 months ago. It went from we're holding off to call me in a month. We might be ready then. And I'm like, okay. And I know at this point I'm ahead of the game. I'm at like 8 or 9 phone calls with this person. It's been, and there's been stuff that slowed it down, like personal things. I don't need to get into all that. But you got to just keep going. Like it's not like their lives are what's stopping them. It's not anything we're doing. So that's really great advice. You're reaping what you've been sowing. You guys already talked about that. I think that's an obvious one. It's the work. You know, we're in like this 90-day cycle. Like if you want instant results, this is not the business for you.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple years ago, but that was it. Here's a couple more, and we're gonna get played off here in a second. The market is tough, but you're playing soft. I love this. Grit is always underestimated. There's winners and losers in every market. When markets change and things get tougher, champions emerge. How do you two feel about this right now? Because you both got into the business when the market was a little easier, I would say.
I mean, like I said, I probably would have quit like the first like week if I was in it now. But honestly, it does it helps toughen you up, and it's, you know, it makes it easier because, you know, I'm not as lazy, you know, when I think I just kind of expected things to come for me, and now I'm more so out there trying to get it.
Love it. Way to end the episode here. So you want to get in touch with Zara and Anthony, you can email them. It's zara@tomtoole.com and anthony@tomtoole.com. You can also check them out on our website. It's zara.tomtoole.com and anthony.tomtoole.com. You can follow me at tomtoole3rd on Instagram, and we'll be back next week on Toole Time, Real Estate Radio, WWDB 860 AM. You guys crushed. That was great. Thanks for doing this.
Stream here.